Hey everyone, Nick Belezzo, hopeless guitar enthusiast, here with you once again. I can't believe it's already been over a year since I purchased my 2019 Gibson Explorer. And I kind of wanted to do a brief video, kind of with an update of having owned this guitar for a year now. If you haven't seen my demo review, please check that out first. I think it's pretty fun and entertaining. One thing that kind of strikes me when we're looking online for demos and reviews on gear is that it's one thing if you have a player who plays it for 90 seconds who hasn't touched the guitar before. There's a big difference between that versus someone who's owned the guitar for a while and's lived and played with it. So I thought it would be important to kind of give you some of my thoughts and opinions that have changed and share a few of the small features on this guitar after owning and playing it for a year. So first, two very small features that I kind of forgot to mention in my demo review. You see it here, no surprise. The knobs, these are the black bottom clear speed knobs. These have been on the Explorers for many years. Very comfortable, easy to roll up and down while you're playing. Obviously not the original amber bell top or reflector knobs on the original Explorers, but just your basic utility, all around black knob that they put on a lot of models. But they look nice and they're pretty functional. Another very small detail on this guitar that I didn't mention, and I only found out because I'm thinking about possibly modifying this, and I was looking for a replacement pickguard, and this is actually a 4-ply material, white, black on the bottom. If you're looking for replacing the pickguard on this, I think this has a particular size and routing for the screw hole position. Most of the replacement pickguards are like 76 reissues. They don't exactly line up, and they're all going to be 3-ply. So not a big deal, but it is, if you do pay attention to detail, pickguards on these Explorers are 4-ply. So if you do replace them, there is going to be a little bit of a difference between a 3-ply and this. And I actually looked for 4-ply raw material to make my own pickguard, and I didn't even find pre-laminated 4-ply, so it must be something that Gibson's buying or doing themselves, or something you'd have to laminate yourself if you wanted to kind of make a replica of the original Explorer pickguard. One point that I think I hammered home over and over again in my original review was the Alnico Burstbucker pickups that are featured in this model. I do really love Alnicos. I love vintage PAF sounding pickups like everyone else on the planet pretty much does. However, after playing this guitar for a year, I really don't think these are the right pickups to put in this guitar. Something about the size of this body, just a huge slab of wood, I think it absorbs a lot of energy, and I really think this lends this guitar to be used with a higher output, more modern style pickup. That's why the ceramics that they used to use in this might be a better choice. And understandably, I think a lot of modern Explorer players are using distortion, or a lot of heavy distortion. I play a lot of things cleanly or with some overdrive, so I do prefer the sound of Alnicos. However, I would really swap this out with a higher output Alnico pickup. So if you do want to own one of these things, I think the Alnicos obviously are going to be best suited for a Les Paul or even an SG. I think a smaller body guitar, the Burstbuckers would sound great. However, I would say you want to probably put in your ceramics or even maybe EMG actives or a higher output Alnico, which I'm thinking about doing. Another sticking point to me on a lot of these Gibsons is the nut. They use this Tectoid material. I've been trying to find out exactly what the material composite is. I've never been too crazy about this material, but however, this guitar has been rock solid in tuning stability. I live in the Chicagoland area and we experience, both seasons, winter and construction. I'm sorry, that's a bad joke. But here in the Midwest, we do experience great shifts in temperature and humidity, and there's some guitars that really go along with those changes, and you have to set them up constantly. This guitar has been rock solid. I play a neck pretty much dead straight with very little relief, and I haven't touched this truss rod once since I adjusted it basically a year ago. It stayed completely straight. I haven't had to adjust it. And also thanks to this, the Nashville Tune-O-Matic stop bar, the Tectoid nut, and the Mini Grovers, this thing stays in tune. I don't think I've ever had to tune this. It's always been in tune. It doesn't go out of tune. It's been absolutely rock solid. So who knows, there might be some variation amongst the production run about that. But this combination, I think, this setup of hardware is really great for this guitar. It's very stable. Another just opinion about these guitars is that they always have the slim taper profile, which is a nice profile. I think most people like it, but I'm always a stickler for a little bit chunkier neck. I wish that they would do an Explorer in the standard USA line that kind of gives you a chunkier profile, maybe with the old-fashioned vintage style heel that's flush with the body that's on a lot of the originals, but I know they're going to try to probably protect their higher end lines, their Carinas and their limited editions, but that's something I really would love to see on a standard production run Explorer. Another thing that I mentioned in my original video was the case. The case is pretty big, and I've been lugging it a lot lately, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, especially when you're going up flights of stairs and lugging other guitars. It really takes up a lot of space. Now, Gibson a few years ago offered the USA model with a padded gig bag. They've since discontinued that, but I'm sure there's probably some second hands floating around that you can get. It might be a more ergonomic option to carry that guitar. I'm always a little bit weary about Gibsons in gig bags just because of the headstock, because when I pile a guitar, I'm usually stuffing my Strats and Tellies in between heavy sharp gear and PA speakers and guitar amps. So I know they'll be okay, but with the headstock angle, I'm always a little bit weary about putting those in a gig bag. I haven't had one, but it's always an option if you're sick of lugging around the big case. Another thing that's out there is SKB makes a really nice molded, formed hard shell case. It's not a very cheap option, but this case will carry both Explorers and Firebirds. So that might be an option for you if you are on the road and you want something that's a little more ergonomic and not this big, huge case. And also it preserves the condition of the original case if you do have considerations on resale value. I think one of the main things on any guitarist's mind when they're considering purchasing a new piece of gear is resale value. That being said, I think the price of the new Explorers dropped considerably on the resale market. I don't think this is just a symptom of the Explorer. I think if it's any standard production guitar that they make by the thousands, like a Fender American Standard Strat or Telly or a standard SG, they tend to drop heavily on the resale market. Now, I'm not at all against buying new guitars. I think it's great. If you fall in love with a guitar, it's worth the extra money if that's the right guitar. Not all guitars are equal. Plus, you get the factory warranty and you get that awesome new case smell. But if you are someone who buys, sells, and trades, you're not going to get as much for a used Explorer because it's just not limited edition enough or it doesn't have the vintage appointments, it tends to drop a lot in value. This was the very first Explorer guitar I ever purchased. I've played a few, I've never bonded with it, but since buying this guitar a year ago, I've really grown to like the Gibson Explorer. In fact, I'm borderline obsessed with them now. In my original demo and review video, I was going to feature a brief history of the Explorer, but it got so involved and I got so into it, my research got more and more, and I wrote this script that basically now it's over an hour long and I couldn't fit it into that video. So that being said, I have become obsessed with the story of the Gibson Explorer, the history of the model, all the variations, finding the originals. I really have grown to love this guitar, and recently the Flying V as well. So one of the reasons I mention resale value is that I've kind of become flush with some dual humbucker guitars, and I'm thinking about selling it, but since the resale value of the guitar isn't so good, I've kind of had this itch to sort of modify it to make it look like an original Explorer. As a rule of thumb, I generally don't modify or drill into new guitars, especially Gibsons. Of course, anything that you do to modify it really drops the resale value, but I figure what the hell, it's not going to matter anyways. So I did purchase some parts with the intent of converting this guitar to a older style kind of parts Explorer that was shipped from the factory in the 60s. So let's head over to Workbench. I kind of want to share some parts that I purchased with you. So here is the 2019 Explorer, just how I bought it, completely stock, nothing's been changed. And here's some of the things that I'm thinking about doing to it. Now the original Explorers, they were mainly built, the wood was built in 58, but they didn't sell many of, they only registered 22 in 58 and 59, and then they sold the leftover ones in the early 60s, mainly 1963 it's thought, and they finished them off with kind of a mixture of components, but a lot of it from that era. So one of the things I was thinking about doing is I bought a replacement pickguard. So this is that 4-ply I was telling you about that matches up exactly with the routing. I mean, granted, I'm planning on drilling into it anyways, but I wanted to have the original pickguard as is. So I was thinking about putting this pickguard on and doing some modifications. So first of all, like I said, is the pickups. Now I do have some kicking around, like I got this Seymour Duncan JB for conductor that I got from my buddy, and like a P94, but I kind of want to put in, okay, this is a Seymour Duncan Antiquity Jazz neck pickup. So I was thinking about putting that pickup in the neck, and actually, believe it or not, I really love these GFS, that's the Guitar Fetish, you know, import Guitar Warehouse. So even though this is an import pickup, I put this in a lot of my like kind of cheap, fun builds, and I really like it. This is the Vintage Extra Hot chrome plated. So I was thinking of doing a mismatch of a black aged humbucker, like someone took the cover off here, and a chrome plated in the bridge. I also wanted to take off the speed knobs, either put amber bell top knobs, which I think look great, or put these reflector top knobs. So the reflector top knobs came out late 1960, and a lot of the leftover parts Explorers have the reflector top knobs, so I thought that would be cool. Now here comes the big changes. This is where I'm kind of debating. I really like the look of the old Keystones. The leftover parts Explorers had the oval buttons with 6 on a plate. This is more your 58 style, so I'm actually thinking about taking off the Grovers, and I even have these conversion bushings, and putting these on the old Keystone Kluson vintage style. In most people's opinion, this would be a huge downgrade from the Mini Grovers, and I admit it would be, but I just love the look of these so much. And here's the other controversial modification. This would involve drilling into the top of the guitar. I'm thinking about putting on one of these. And for a lot of people, this will be blasphemy. I just mentioned how great this stays in tune, how wonderful it is. This would technically be a downgrade. It might cause it to not tune as well. This is a very, very primitive bent metal design that you'll see on the old Juniors and Specials. It's the top of the Lears on the old SGs from the 60s. So I'm thinking about drilling, because this guitar is not worth that much, I'm thinking about drilling this into the top, putting these pickups. Also, that's not all. What the hell else am I doing? This is a new, like, short, straight toggle switch, that I'm thinking about putting in right here at the bottom. Because I don't like where this switch is, I'm going to put a switch right here, going this way, so I don't knock it while I'm playing, to do the pickup selector, and then I'm going to put this and make this like a kill switch just for fun, as long as the hole's going to be there. And because this is splittable, not that I'm huge on splittable pots, I would install one of these new CTS. I've been meaning to try this out, the new circuit board CTS pots, and replace the other pots in here with CTS pots. So obviously it's not a Carina, it's not a vintage. I even thought about taking the Nashville bridge out and plugging it and putting the like a nylon saddle ABR1 on there. So I know this would be blasphemy, but I think it would look really, really cool with the vintage tuners, with swapped out pickups that are a bit higher output, and the Lear Vibrola. Some of you out here watching, you're probably cringing because this would be a much inferior setup. But I'm kind of curious, do you dig this? Do you think I should do it? I think I want to do it. I think it would look way cooler. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that Guitar of the Week they did in 2007 where it was all gold plated with the Lear Vibrola. I always thought that looked cool. I think the vintage ones look cool. As much as I like the setup of it now, I really, really want to modify it so it looks like this. So tell me what you think. Since I purchased this guitar in September of 2018, there's been a lot of changes in Gibson. There's been the changes of CEO, the bankruptcy, changes in the product line, some sort of melees with their PR department. So who knows by the time I complete this video and publish it what kind of things Gibson will do. But at the time of recording this, they are still offering this 2019 Explorer. The new management, the new regime over there has done away with the model years. So it's not the 2019 Explorer anymore. It's just the original collection Gibson Explorer. But don't be fooled. It's the same exact Explorer, same specs, same pickup, same everything. But as of right now, they're still offering the guitar as it was in the 2019 series. So do you own one of these Explorers? Have you played Explorers? What's your opinion? Share down below. And also, do you think that I should modify it? Should I keep it the same? Should I just sell it as is? Or should I go for it? Should I take a drill to the guitar, modify it, and make it look sort of vintage? I'd just be curious to hear your thoughts. So like, subscribe, all that stuff. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Let me know what you want to see. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you all in hell.